and welcome back. My name is Shala and you're watching an Educator talk show. Today I've got Dr. Hasuli Perera with me. I'm pleased to speak to a woman who's actually on the panel because I always wanted to speak to a woman. Welcome on the show, Dr. Hasuli.
Thank you for having me.
So we'll just give you a little bit of your introduction. You're actually the head of APIIT Business School and Foundation. Tell me, what do you do there and how do you place yourself there?
Okay, so I'm primarily an academic, but I'm now also involved in administration and running the program and managing the school as head of business school and foundation. So there's a lot of kids to be managed, both undergraduates and foundation. So that's what I do.
I believe you like it?
Yes, yes. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll maybe perhaps start with a little bit of your personal story and get to know you a little bit better, try and understand how you've come to this stage. Tell us, starting from your family, tell us a little bit about your family, how they inspire you, a bit of their story.
Okay, so it's my father, mother, and I have a younger sister. So my father's still working. My mother used to be a lecturer like a long time ago, but she stopped working to take care of us when my sister was born. But she's always been involved in teaching. She still teaches. She teaches French. And my sister is also an academic. So she's also involved in teaching.
Do you know any French? I'm like very inquisitive.
I've forgotten most of it. Yes, but I did it. Yeah, I learned until like the highest level. Yeah.
Right. So, how did your family impact you or your upbringing?
Okay, so I think my parents always made sure that my sister and we stayed well grounded. That our feet were firmly planted on the ground, and they've never wanted us to stay abroad. Actually, from small days, they've always been like, even if you go overseas, you've always got to come back and serve your country. So that is something that has stayed with us. So both my sister and we returned, and we have no intentions of going back.
Returned from?
So I returned from Sweden in 2017. A decision that a lot of people ask me if I regret.
Yeah, especially in a time like this.
Yes. So actually, no. When I first returned, I did have regrets, but I don't, for several reasons. Also, I think our love for animals. So my entire family is vegetarian. So there's a couple of things. So focusing on our, on academics, that has also come from my family.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What kind of support do you get from your husband and your kids?
Actually, he does most of the work when it comes to looking after the kids. Because he's in the kind of job that gives him the flexibility to do that. So he's actually very, very involved with the children, more than I am, which I should probably not be saying on camera. But
no, but that's great to hear, because I think that's a very wrong perception when it comes to being a mom and being, a professional mom. I can relate to that, and I can perhaps maybe say the same thing. So it's important that we actually say it out loud so people get comfortable with it. And I'm really proud that you're saying it out loud.
Yeah.
So you have how many children?
I have a son and a daughter.
Okay.
Yeah. So both are small, and so because of his flexibility, he's able to sort of pick them up, take them for classes, whatever it is. He's the one who wakes up in the morning and makes their breakfast, not me. So I have a lot of support from him.
Right. What is your school? Can you tell us a little bit about your childhood and who you wanted to be, maybe your dreams? What inspired you at that time?
Okay. So I was at Visakha until 96. when the central bank bomb blast took place. And so, funny story, my mother was uncomfortable, she was scared, and she took my sister and I out of Visaka, which people questioned at the time, and so she put us to Royal Institute. So I've been at Royal Institute throughout. So, you know, that's where I've got my entire kind of foundation, and so I've always wanted to be lots of different things. I wanted to be like a news presenter at one point. I wanted to be a vet at another point. The last thing I wanted to be was a diplomat. So I've had a lot of sort of dreams. Yeah.
And how did you end up?
Yeah, so this is something that I didn't really plan for, but something that I sort of fell into along the way, and of course something that I really love now.
Okay. So do you have any key people in your family that supports you for who you are today? Maybe even if it was in the past, like your teachers, your mentors, or whoever.
So my PhD supervisor, I would say she's been the one who's sort of made me who I am today as a teacher, because so I knew her from my final year of the degree, and when I needed to pick a supervisor for my research, I went with her, and so I've known her since 2009. She's been more of a close friend. She's financially supported me. She's helped me through a lot of things, and it's the way she teaches and deals with students that has actually influenced how I am with students. So I'm more of a friend to them. So even today, she acknowledges when I can do things better than her, and she reaches out to me for support. So she's amazing, and she's someone who has really sort of, you know, inspired me and supported me to become who I am.
What impact have they made on you as an individual? You've already answered that maybe, but maybe you can also iterate a little bit about, you know, sometimes you can pick and learn, particularly some habit few things.
So like I said before, it's just the way she treats a person. It's the way she treats a student. She doesn't make you feel like a student. It's that love and support she gives the student. She doesn't even consider us as students. She considers us more as peers. So these are some of the things that I've picked up.
So how was your life in Monash, Malaysia, and what made you return to Sri Lanka?
So I mean, I was in Malaysia at the university for close to 8-9 years. Because that is where I did my undergraduate degree. I was a research assistant for a year, and then I started my PhD. I loved it there. It's still my second home. It's still the first place I'd visit if I had, you know, a chance to, you know, take a holiday. So it was an amazing time. We had a Sri Lankan community there, but so both my husband and I were studying there, and after he finished his PhD, he got the opportunity to go to Sweden. I followed him, so we were actually in Sweden for another 2 years, and that's where my son was born. Why did we decide to return? So it was after my son was born that we actually decided we wanted to bring him up in Sri Lanka. We wanted him to sort of be with his family, because he wouldn't have really known his grandparents or cousins otherwise. And like today, when I see the bond that they have, I don't really regret that. So I wanted him to be schooled here. I wanted him to grow up here. So it was a very difficult decision to make, because life was so comfortable there. It's a beautiful country. But we made the decision to come back.
Okay. So you told us a little bit about your role, but if you are given the chance to tell a little bit more about your role at APIIT and how much work is under your wing, and also to ask you, really, do you enjoy your job? How would you answer that?
Yes, I love it. I love it. So my passion is teaching. I don't know. I love being with the students. I love speaking to them. I love being with them. I love talking to them. I love teaching them. So teaching also comes, I think, naturally to me. So I like teaching. And then as in my role as head, I have a lot of strategizing and planning to do, which is a good thing because I can sort of create the future for the business school and for APIIT, and really help to kind of make a path for business graduates who would be entering the working world. So I really like what I do. So it's a combination of teaching, research, and administration, and planning and strategizing.
Now, like talking to you, Doctor, I feel I can relate to Dr. Hasuli and then a pile of books, because that's what I'm seeing right now. So my next question is going to be, how do you spend your leisure time? What do you do when you're spending, quality time at home, or how do you relax?
Good question, because I don't know about you, but I can't really find the time to relax, because the moment I go home, it's kids and kids work. But yeah, so somehow people seem to think that
can be a relaxation too. I mean, spending time with your children, going out with them.
Yes. So we try to do that as much as we can. So we go out a lot. Go out a lot as in we just go for drives in the car. It could be the middle of the night because they don't anyway sleep until late in the night. So actually to relax, the easiest and the best thing to do is not keep them stuck at home, but to put them in the car and then go somewhere. But yeah, so somehow people seem to relate books with me, but I don't have much time to read books. I don't know, so I spend time with kids. I watch TV series and movies. I do read. Yeah, that's about it.
Okay, so we're basically done with this segment, and the next one we will be talking about a little bit about your present and the future. So we'll meet them in the next segment. So welcome back to the second segment, which is going to deep dive into Dr. Hasuli's present and future, a little bit about your professional side. So tell us a little bit about your educational background and what you did and how you became interested in lecturing, and how did you enter Monash University, since you also studied there, and a little bit about your PhD.
Okay. So like I mentioned before, I schooled at RI. I did my undergrad degree at Monash, Malaysia. I majored in management and international business. So it's a 3-year degree actually, and only a few select students are able to sort of do the 4th year, which is the honours year. It's different from how it works in the UK as well as here. So the Australian degree, only those who choose to do honours would go on to do the 4th year, which is entirely research based. So it was in that 4th year where I actually started liking research. So research was something that I really enjoyed, because I could just sit behind my computer and then read my articles, do my thing. And so I had a great supervisor, and so after I completed, she wanted me to kind of assist her in her research. So I became a graduate research assistant for a year. And after that, I was working on my PhD proposal as well. I had the opportunity to transfer to Australia, but I didn't want to. So I decided to stay back. And so I started my PhD. So it is... it's not in a particular field, but it sort of combines HR to organizational behavior, to a little bit of psychology. So it's a mix of everything. And yeah, I had a really good 4 years. So so my other supervisor was in Australia, so I had the chance to go there, meet her, collect data, And it was fun because we got to travel a lot for conferences. So my husband, who's also doing his PhD, would also travel to certain countries for conferences, and I would tag along, and then I would also go. So we got that chance to cover a lot of travel as well. Yeah, so that was basically my PhD journey. And so eventually I decided it was research that I wanted to do, but you don't get really a research job anywhere, so you need to get into teaching as well. Luckily for me, teaching was something that I had always done because I used to always help out students. Yeah, I ended up getting into lecturing.
So next question is going to be a little bit about your research paper. You have published.
You really need to know.
You published recently, and you're in the top rank academic journal. So can you talk about it a little bit?
Okay, so it's a paper based on my PhD, based on a very small part of my PhD, which is published in this journal called the International Journal of Human Resource Management. So it's a small part of my dissertation, which looks at how actually, in very, very simple terms, how actually employees have a lot of expectations of their employers, which is a lot more than what we have on paper in your contract. And a lot of the times, our attitudes at work, our behavior at work depends on whether our employer has sort of meta expectations. So when things we think that we've not got, our expectations are not met, the first reaction might not really be to leave the organization. Especially now, if you take today's times, you don't really leave. But that is even worse for the employer, because these are the kinds of people who'll stay, and then they'll have bad attitudes. They'll have poor performance.
Toxic.
Yes, and then they'll be the ones who will also sort of contribute to creating a toxic culture as well, and that's very damaging to the organization. So this paper was based on a qualitative study where I spoke to, so my study was on expatriates working in Malaysia at the time. And so these are very senior, higher level managers, CEOs, directors, but even being at such a high level, they still had a lot of expectations from the company that they were based in Malaysia, as well as their parent company from where they were sent from their original location. So it's a complicated relationship that they have. So the paper was based on that.
Right. So how do you balance research work and teaching responsibilities and personal life? I believe this question is more valuable when it comes to, for master's students. So they see you as an example, but also know that they have a life that they need to run.
Right. Okay. So it's been very difficult to balance research with teaching.
I still like it that you have a smile on the face.
Because
it's been very difficult.
Because I don't really balance it, I must be honest. It's very difficult to balance. I think you actually can. You just have to put your mind to it, and then you can have everything. You can have all three. It's just that I have not been that disciplined to be able to balance all three. I technically should, but in Sri Lanka the focus is, especially in private education institutes, the focus is more on teaching than research, which should not be the case. But one thing that we try to do to balance all three is to spend a fixed amount of time in a day. So it could be just even 1 hour, like as soon as you wake up in the morning, just not to check emails because you get so distracted with all the emails, but just to focus on reading a research paper or just working on your research, just allocating like 1 hour a day, because there's a lot of writing and reading that is involved. And if you don't sit down to do it, it'll never get done. So I have a lot of, I know a lot of people who are they've started their MBAs and they get stuck somewhere in their research project because they are working and they don't have time. So it's always important to carve out some time in a day, even if it is 1 hour. So preferably like as soon as you wake up in the morning, if you have that luxury, take an hour or even half an hour to focus on that. And that way you can slowly balance all three.
So as a lecturer and a mentor, what are the biggest challenges you face in teaching and guiding your students?
Biggest challenge is sometimes, or not sometimes, actually a lot of the times, most students don't really know what they want to do. They really haven't figured out their path or what career they want to have. Because when it comes to business, you can sort of do a lot of things, right? It's not fixed like if you go to medicine or engineering or even IT for that matter. So actually guiding them on their path is a challenge. So it takes a little time for them to figure out what it is that they are interested in and what it is that they are good at. So it's a challenge, but we try and mentor them and we try and guide them. The other challenge, of course, I would say is that there are some who are just studying for the sake of studying also, and some who are studying because their parents want them to study. So we're trying to reverse that. We're trying to kind of make them understand why learning is interesting and important. So, APIIT also has the tagline, Inspire Love for Learning. So we are actually trying to do that because there are kids who sometimes don't know why they are learning. So those are some of the challenges I think that we have in teaching.
Right. In your opinion, what are the skills you need for a quality of a student that needs to be as successful as, they are in any fields that they take?
Okay.
You actually spoke about some, but maybe if you're to touch point a little bit more.
Okay. So we talk to kids about this all the time, and we tell them that it's actually when they start working, they need to show, or they need to actually have that enthusiasm to learn. Even if they don't know something, they need to be willing to learn. I think that willingness to learn is a key quality that they need to have and show their employer as well. I also think that they need to have a few interpersonal skills. I think the most important ones would be having empathy. They also need to have be able to inspire trust in their peers, their co-workers, inspire trust in their supervisors. I think they also need to have passion, and they need to have energy, and they need to, not to say that they always need to be optimistic, but they need to bring that to the workplace. There are lots actually, but to me these would be some of the key things that they would need. Also the fact that they need to actually be adaptable.
Because I think in any field it would be the same, right? So as a professional, you may have challenges. If you would want to speak about some of these challenges that you have day in and day out and how you overcome them. So,
challenges as a working mother is always there. That's there. It's very difficult sometimes when you're stressed. When you have a lot of work and all of that is working in the back of your mind. Sometimes it's very difficult to then spend that quality time with, or rather any time with your children. So that's a challenge that I think I struggle with on a daily basis. There are other challenges also. So for example, a recent one. So I go as head of business school and all of that, my email would carry my emails, the signature and so on. And then a parent would meet me and they'll be like, "Oh, are you the head of the business school?" So there have been comments on maybe I'm not really capable, perhaps. Maybe they see me as being a little inexperienced or a little too young to be the head. So they expect, like in the state university, they expect like a very senior, very elderly lady who'd probably wear sari and be the heads, and then they see me and then so that is something that I have to overcome also.
Gift box experience.
Yeah. So I have to overcome that, because otherwise they will not trust their kids. They will not trust the education that we provide at APIIT. So, but over time, with repeated interactions.
I mean, I would have asked you, how did you overcome something like that?
Yeah, there are some people who would like to, keep harping on that fact, but yeah, they have to get used to it. So.
Right. So, what are your personal interests, your hobbies, and how do you make time for that? But now I understand that you have a really busy schedule, so I might not just throw that question. But maybe we can go back to time and think about the times that you were in university, or when you were, when you had that time, what were your hobbies? Because I'm pretty sure those hobbies may have groomed some of this that I'm seeing right now.
Maybe not. So I mean, I do try to find some time for myself. I'm interested in interior design, actually. So that's something I do outside of work. I spend time looking at designs and then go buying stuff and then trying to change things around in the house. That's the most that I can do in terms of interior design, but I really like it. I really love.
I think that sounds so much like me, because I think that's something that I think working moms that have a really busy schedule.
Yeah, I think having that. Not a beautiful home, but like a place that you can, that you find very calming, and something that you really like to look at and be in, it helps, I think. So yeah, whether it comes to framing pictures, I frame puzzles now, so like different things. So I do that, and I've also I used to love creating posters. So I used to be part of the postgraduate association at Monash, and I used to be the publicity officer, so I used to create like all the campaigns and the posts and so on. So that has actually helped, because that helps me now create lecture slides more nicely and more creatively. So I like creating content online.
Fantastic. So what are the core values and mission of the business school?
Okay, so the business school shares the same values as APIIT, as the overall organization. So we have 3 values, that we are loving and caring, and that will instill lifelong learning in our students and in us as well, and that will inspire synergy between staff, students, among staff. These are the values. So our mission is basically to, provide high quality education through a really great curriculum that I think we have, and through active industry engagement, so that we build a really great generation of corporate ready professionals.
What are the different programs offered by the business school and APIIT NC UK Foundation, and how are they designed to meet the needs of the students and the industry?
Okay, so the business school offers 4 degrees from Staffordshire University. Our most popular one has been the International Business Management degree, which we've run for quite a long time. Last year, the university launched 3 very new degrees, one in digital and social media marketing, one in innovation and entrepreneurship, the other in finance. So we are running those 3 degrees as well. And the content is really, really modern, and it's geared to meet the needs of today's industry, the requirements. So those are the 4 degrees we offer at the business school, and as part of the foundation we have 2 foundation programs. One is the APIIT Foundation, which is sort of a pathway for students who are after O-levels to directly enter the degrees awarded by Staffordshire University at APIIT. The NC UK Foundation, International Foundation Year, is a really new and a great program for those who are looking to do a very rigorous qualification that is equivalent to A-levels again. It's on par with Edexcel, Cambridge. I think it's sometimes tougher also, and it's a shorter duration as well, 8 to 9 months. But that really prepares them to transfer to move on to universities abroad. So NC UK has a really great pathway arrangements with a lot of different universities in the UK, Australia and New Zealand, where once students complete and do well on the International Foundation year, they get guaranteed offers from the partner universities in NC UK.
Okay. What are the opportunities for students to engage in research projects and other experiential learning opportunities at APIIT?
Okay, so there's a lot of stuff going on in APIIT. There's a lot of projects, different projects. For example, we have very recently launched a project called APIIT, which is together with Nestle. And so our business students are trained by Nestle's sales team, and each student picks a podikade and they help the podikade mudalali improve their business. That's the project. So one student, so now it's become a group or team of 2 to 3 students because they are afraid or shy to approach one shop. So they've identified a podikade, can be this podi kada, the sillara kada, and to kind of help them with, how to promote your products better, how to, treat your shopper or customer better, and how to basically improve their performance. So that's one big project that's going on. There's another project that comes from the foundation. It's called Human-Centered Design, and that's together with the UNDP Citra Labs. So there, students are taught how to design solutions to problems that we face as society. So it could be things like pollution, to transportation difficulties, to tourism problems, whatever it is. So there's a lot of opportunities to do a lot of things. We also have a lot of clubs, Toastmasters, to road track, to student activity club, to so many opportunities for students to engage in a lot of, these are all learning opportunities, so a lot of opportunities.
Okay. How does a business school support students' success, including career development, internship and networking opportunities? Some of these you've already touched.
Yeah, but there are a few unique ones as well. For example, there's this program called the Unilever Sparks program. So every year they nominate 2 students from APIIT as well as other institutions also to as representatives of APIIT and Unilever. So they act as sort of the liaison between APIIT and Unilever. They're called Sparks. They're ambassadors for Unilever and APIIT, and so they promote. They organize guest talks to career fairs to help students find internships, but this is only with Unilever. So that's one program. We also have a module called the work placement, where it's compulsory for them to do an internship. So we help students find internships in their second year, and there's a lot of guest talks and industry visits and so on, so they get a lot of exposure.
Okay, so how do you want parents to support students and understand them?
See, the thing is, when you are in university, you're technically supposed to be an independent learner, and well, you don't really want parents kind of, dictating how the kid learns, to what the kid learns, and so on, which I see sometimes takes place here. But we do want parents to kind of know what's going on in their child's life. And so it might be a simple question as to, not like, what did you learn today? Or just to have maybe a casual conversation with your kid about, what they've learned, so that you actually know that they are actively engaging in classes, because we otherwise have that problem also. So not to interfere too much, not to be too overly involved also, but to, have that fine balance with support.
In between.
Yes.
Right. So we've come to the end of the second segment, and we'll be moving forward towards a third, which is going to be throwing you into deep sea, where we don't know the questions ourselves as well. So we'll find you there. Welcome back to an Educator talk show, and we are with Dr. Hasuli Perera with me. We're in a segment which is really interesting because she would pick a card and then you'll have to answer. Some of these questions are questions that we don't know that you would pick. So go for it. Do you know to cook? What kind of what kind of dishes you know to cook very well?
So I can cook.
Okay.
I can cook because I had to, I had to survive.
Of course.
So I can cook. I can cook. Okay, rice and curry, the simple curries, and pasta to like simple stuff. Yeah, I can cook.
Maybe what do your kids like? It sounds particularly something that they ask.
Good question, because I really haven't cooked and given them to eat.
Okay.
But so I did most of the cooking before they were born. After they were born, I had people to cook for me, so I didn't really.
So we'll move on to what are your favorite songs from your teenage years that you still rock out to when nobody else is listening?
I have always been a fan of One Republic, so One Republic songs are my favorite. Muse's song Starlight has always been another favorite. Yeah, I mean, any good song is fine.
This would be your third. What motivates you to work hard?
Well, I like what I do. It has its challenges, but I enjoy it, and that keeps me going. So, and the fact that, you know, I meet students on a daily basis, and students keep changing, you know, and that's actually interesting. It keeps your life interesting, very interesting, in fact.
What's the worst thing you ever did as a kid and got away with?
We shouldn't be really talking about this. Okay. So, I mean, I don't think I never got away with stuff. I always got caught. Most of the time I got caught. I think I shouldn't probably be saying this, but I used to throw away a lot of food. And I used to throw food or hide food in weird places, like.
Okay.
Yeah, so I never got caught.
You never got caught?
No.
Okay. Okay. What show on Netflix did you binge watch embarrassingly fast on Netflix?
Probably shouldn't be saying it. So, binge watched Virgin River and Shadow and Bone.
What person in your life had the most impact on you and how?
I think right now it is, I think the one person who's had a lot of impact is Roshan Ekudage. Simply because I've not come across a leader like him. I've worked for previous leaders who were the complete opposite of him. And the impact he's had, I mean, impacts family life as well. So, yeah.
Okay, the last one. What commercial jingle gets stuck in your head all the time? Maybe this would be a test for the brand to know whether they've really got.
No, because nothing's really stuck in my head. No.
Okay, all right then. It was lovely having you, and I think it was a great conversation. And we wish you all the best.
Thank you so much.
So that was Dr. Hasuli Perera, and we will meet you again in the next seating with somebody amazing sitting in the chair. Don't forget, if you can dream it, you can do it.